kind of capture things in the moment, instead of looking back on it in hindsight. I think Abby put that pretty well in our last call. But yeah, we just wanted to, because everyone, once they're successful, they look back and they're like, oh, this is how I built
Sure.
it.
This is how it all
But
began, right?
yeah, this
Yeah,
is how it all began. And
yeah,
like people, there are good stories, there are bad stories, there are challenges, there are ups and there's downs. And I don't think anyone captures the founder's journey while they're living it. Which is what we wanted to try to do, is like we wanted to capture the good, the bad, why people should start this, why people should, what kind of people should start this. And yeah, so it's just a little conversation with everyone, all the founders that we know. And yeah,
sure.
hopefully it teaches things, people, a couple of things about what it's like being a founder. So
Yeah, it's like your own special. I was gonna say hell, but it's not that bad. I don't know. I it's you know what? Like I used to work. I used to work a full time gig. That to me was hell, to be honest. Like the monotony of that was. I was like, is this what all life has to offer? This really sucks, and I just couldn't stand it. So I don't think I can do anything else, to be honest. I don't think I could possibly get up in the morning, commute, and work for someone for like most of my waking hours. I would probably just spiral into depression if I did that, knowing who how I see things, and yeah. So
oh, 100%. I think that's kind of why everyone starts. So I mean, in that, with that, we can actually kind of segue into just starting kicking this off. So yeah, welcome, Jeremy. I know you're the founder and chief architect of SharkIndicators. So you've been building automated trading tools since 2012, if I'm correct.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, we can maybe start with your story. I understand, I did a little research on you and your company. So you're kind of a software developer,
yeah,
become trader. So
yeah.
kind of, how did this journey begin? Like, how did you get started with Shark
Well,
Indicators?
I think I'll go back to that I've always kind of been like an entrepreneur at heart because I basically in my university years I'd participated in another startup that went nowhere. It was one of the most stressful times of my life by far. Um, and I was in my early 20s at the time. And uh, after that failure, I went back to work full time as a software developer. And I discovered just things about myself in terms of like, I realized I can't, uh, I'm just not suited to work as an employee for someone else. And I would even embrace the chaos of being an entrepreneur over the stability but monotony of working for someone else. So that's I guess that's a reason why a lot of entrepreneurs do what they do. And I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy what I do. But how it started was, basically somewhere along the lines when I was working for someone else, I had some money now, and I was like looking to invest and figure out a way to grow those investments. And just being my personality, I have to go in not just 100%, but everything, all in. And I started learning about what they call systematic trading, which is the idea that you have some rules and some criteria for how you place your trades, and then you have some system in terms of when you exit and that sort of thing. And then I started realizing, well, as I learned more about systematic trading, I look for ways to automate it because fundamentally, I probably mentioned before, I'm fundamentally a lazy person, so I will go to extreme lengths to automate things that I feel that don't need sort of manual attention all the time, right? So quickly learned there wasn't really anything out there, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs could probably relate to that idea. Is like, so I just went ahead and built it for myself. And then as I was building, I realized I actually enjoyed doing that a heck of a lot more than trading. So, yeah, I focused entirely all my energies on building the tool out, and that's kind of where that's how the concept of Bloodhound was launched. That's our main product, one of our main products, and that was back in 20 technically 2011. I think I was building it, or 20, yeah, around 2011. It took a couple of years to get it to a sellable product, and here we are today, basically selling the same product, but kind of the landscape, of course, is changed a lot. So
And you touched a little about that startup when you were in university. Can you like what I mean? Every failure is a moment to learn, right? So what did that kind of teach you, and what did you embrace moving forward when building Shark Indicators?
yeah, I'll tell you, it was like I said, it was one of the roughest periods of my life, and it absolutely shaped who I am. There were times where we had 20 some odd people working for us, more or less for free. We had a very charismatic leader. It wasn't me; it was someone else. He's super charismatic. I was able to convince a lot of people to work together for very little, but we started paying them, but mostly out of investment from friends and family. And I was the one tasked with raising that money from friends and family. And at the time, as a 20-year-old, and I'm going around, it was kind of the dot-com boom, so there's a bit of a rush to this sort of thing, and I'd say our naive friends and family just trusted me with getting them to put in. It was about $250,000 at the time, and the pressure was insane. Like, we had weeks where we'd be payroll would be due in 3 days, and I had to come up with like 10 grand to cover payroll or something. And I had maybe one or two leads for investors that were willing to put money in, and I would be basically just scrambling and to raise that money in time. And so the pressure was insane. And yeah, that really taught me that, kind of after it was all done, and like, I survived it. I was in a fair bit of debt, and then in my personal life was financially, I was in dire straits, but I worked my way out of it. My credit rating was also like tarnished, but it taught me that actually I learned that I could survive it. I would never want to go back to it, but I learned that from that experience that in the end I can, I'm still breathing, I can still function, and eventually I'll find my way out. And so that sort of gave me the confidence to try again, knowing that if things didn't work out again, I would figure a way out of it too. So
Again, did a little bit of research about you. I know that you did a couple other interviews. So, you mentioned in one of those interviews I found online that you're that that you've had a best friend who was your biggest influence. Maybe I'm misquoting you, but can you talk a little bit about that and how it changed your approach to what you do right now?
yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a lot of influences. I'm not. Oh yeah, I guess I had a friend who was actually part of that business, and he was very good at generating loyalty with his staff. He later on ran the Calgary Expo. I don't know if you guys have ever been to that. That was his business, which he later sold. Um, and basically a lot of his demeanor and a lot of the way he treated his staff, gave them the benefit of the doubt, gave them room to grow. Like, all those traits that he had, like, I've definitely incorporated that to the way I manage my staff today. And I'd like to think I'm doing a pretty good job at it. Pretty much my staff has been with me for basically a decade now. Even though I would say they're worth more than what I pay them. And that's something that I do want to rectify when we pivot. But I think it's, if you treat your staff right, you can get a lot of long-term benefits out of it, because when you churn staff, it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's a distraction. So yeah.
Oh, okay, no, that yeah, I think it's true. Like, it's hard, especially when you have people relying on you and they're they have families, and yeah, it's tough. I can't even imagine how it is to be responsible for payroll and so are your staff contractors? Do they like are they all in Calgary?
No, they're actually in the States.
Oh,
Yeah, so and it was really just I had met one individual that was kind of you wanted to jump on this journey of automated trading, and and then eventually roped in two others that acquaintances of his to join the business. I do have one Canadian staff member who's a developer, but yeah, they're actually in Idaho and in California. Yeah, it just worked out that way. Yeah, so we've actually been a virtual company for like we're working basically without being face to face for over a decade now, which is really neat. But I did meet them once, like in 2020. We went on a retreat in Mexico, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
nice, nice. So when you started, like in 2012, what was kind of the just kind of paint a picture of what tools existed? What was the trading software? Like I know right now we have so many tools, so many automation tools that are available, but maybe back in 2012, was that still the same? Like what was the niche that you were trying to fill?
Yeah, I would definitely say there was not very much out there. Certainly, the trading. Well, today, like you see a lot of trading platforms that are just completely 100% online, like software as a service. Back then, I don't even think there was one that I can really that stood out back then. So it was all desktop software, and that's where we kind of honed in on was we hooked into NinjaTrader, and that actually was a great starting point because we did, because we were on the NinjaTrader platform, they sort of featured us, and they have sort of a support for the ecosystem partners, and that way they were able to like we were able to get featured in front of their users, and that kind of got us additional traction pretty quickly. But as time goes on, and fast forward about a decade later, they do have a web component, but it's not a very big one. And things again, like the landscape has changed, and a lot of our users are kind of like old timers and on NinjaTrader. So our new initiative is to pivot away from that and go online and basically accomplish. I wouldn't say more or less the same thing, but at least a portion of what we're able to do at desktop and do it live. So yeah, back then it was like I think Questrade was like there's only a few platforms that actually even supported. You could actually even like tie into to do automation, and NinjaTrader was one of them. There's one called MetaTrader, TradeStation, which has a super arcane language that's it's so antiquated. It's like it'd be like Fortran basically, like that. And there was only a handful of these kind of brokers or trading platforms that actually supported this. So it was vastly different than it is today, for sure. Yeah. Today it's like all these platforms like to integrate with each other, so they have public REST APIs and stuff like that you could tie into. And back then, there was nothing like that. Yeah. Yeah. What's ironic is like I can remember our first 10 customers. One of them is still our customer. Like he shows up to every webinar we do, every training session. He's still recording it. That guy has been going strong. His name is Bob Rosk. He's been going strong for 13 years with us. And he did drop off the map once. And we are like, what happened to him? Something must have happened. And it turned out he had cancer. And then he came back after.
That's fair.
Cancer. It's still coming. It's amazing. But yeah, it was a journey because I sort of built this early prototype of it, just to suit my own needs, and I guess it was probably not even the MVP. It was all product led approaches and based off my own needs. And sort of I reasoned probably naively that I'm doing it like other people would want it, and it turned out like luckily I was right. I didn't do any interviews, customer discovery, nothing. I just basically said this is what I need for myself, and there must be other people that need it too. And certainly in the NinjaTrader ecosystem, because there's a scripting language in there, so there's a lot of people that actually try their hand at scripting for automation. And if you're not a seasoned developer, it's rather difficult, right? So I figured I reason, oh well, there must be some people that don't really not interested really in the coding. They just want what they want is like a trade system, and so I figured there must be a niche for people that need to make their trade systems automated. And so like I didn't. The one thing I didn't really anticipate though is like how much effort it would take to go from MVP to actual sellable product. And that meant like ironing all the bugs out and just polishing the interface and that sort of thing. And that last like 5% or 5% seemed to take like that alone. I figured it probably took a year and a half. Maybe these days completely different story because AI. Well, we'll talk about AI in a bit. Like there's a whole can of worms there that I think is worth discussing. But back then, of course, there was nothing like that, right? So we had to make everything from scratch, basically. Yeah.
Well, I don't think any conversation can be had without talking about AI these days. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's a buzzword for sure. But it's yeah. I was too young in the dot-com bubble, but I'm guessing this is how it must have felt when the internet was all brand new, and things were like people were excited and all this
Absolutely. Yeah.
stuff you could do, and now we're doing that with AI, and it's insane. But cool. I want to just talk a little bit about your product as well. So I know Bloodhound is your core product. Can you explain that in a little bit of like simple terms? Like if someone was not a trader, they didn't know much about automated trading or trading systems. What does Bloodhound do? How can someone who wants to maybe get into trading use it, or is it just meant for more advanced seasoned traders?
Yeah, I would have to say it is definitely meant for more advanced seasoned traders. You definitely need to know some technical analysis to make use of it. And more than likely, you'd have to have even thought about automating it, and what would be involved in trying to automate something. Normally, that's like I need to code up a strategy from using some coding language, C# or whatever. And so what Bloodhound is it's again it's a no code solution. So you can get hopefully your we tell traders like you want to focus on your trading, not learning a language. And so it's like you can manipulate nodes and stuff like that, and very quickly come up with trade signals, and you can use those trade signals to pipe into our other product or yeah, called BlackBird, which will actually take those trade signals and execute them and then manage those orders. So there's a whole kind of like chain. You need the entry signals and describe them kind of to the computer, and then you need something to take those signals and actually do something useful with them, which is actually put trades on and then manage those trades. And so we got that first full circle loop, which we sort of enable for people that don't know how to code, or even for people that know how to code. Then once you got a fully automated trade system, you can actually use it to do back testing, which is like the idea of asking the question, how good is this system, right? How good will this system perform in historical data? And when you got those kind of answers, then you can legitimately, say, well, then, okay, this system might actually be a pretty good system to trade going forward. And that's a lot of things. That's a huge step for like traders who want to trade in the real market. Is they need, you got to back test it first. You got to see if it has any merit to it. And that's a step that's often completely overlooked because it's the barriers or the entry barriers are so high for traders to do that kind of thing. So our selling point is basically, yeah, you pay a couple $1,000, it saves you all the trouble of hiring a developer or trying to do it yourself, and then you can do the back testing. And then now the optimization, which is what many back tests, thousands and thousands of back tests to arrive at what they call an optimal trading solution. So it's a great way to very quickly get off the ground and day trade, if you will, using some systematic approach.
And the optimizer was brand new, right? That's what you guys released this year in May?
Yeah. So to be clear, the optimization feature piggybacks again on NinjaTrader's optimization capabilities, and it was really we've enhanced our product so that it can take full advantage of that. Yeah. So that we just it was released that it was May, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So, and you kind of serve everyone, right? You guys scalp. If you're a scalper, if you're a trader, you're doing fully automated trading. Like, what made you say, okay, I'm going to try to just target everyone instead of maybe focusing on a niche? Because I know some trading platforms and systems, they do prefer niching down on a particular kind of trader, or is it just kind of what happened and you just went with it?
Yeah, I would say it's more just, the niche I would just simply say is ninja trader users, which happen to be mostly futures and commodities traders who a lot of them tend to like to scalp. And there's, scalping is a broadly used term, because it also means a very specific style of trading, not just the frequency of trading. But I'd say in general, like, we mostly appeal to day traders, which are traders that take multiple positions in and come out of positions during a single day. But that's not to say it can't be used for longer term, like swing traders or even investor traders. But those are, fewer in terms of numbers that like to use our product. And as you can imagine, like, the market for day traders is smaller than the market for longer term traders, right? You don't have every Joe Schmo that wants to take multiple trades a day. It requires a lot of time commitment, probably more than people realize, to the point where it's some people's careers, right? And the dream is, well, for a lot of people, they want to just kind of automate it so they can step away, live a life, not having to be stuck in front of the computer looking at charts all day. And that's generally the type of person that wants to use our stuff, is to basically, design whatever trade system we want and then hit a go button and let it rock, which is the ultimate dream, I think, for most day traders. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll just be frank and I'll say the change is brought upon the fact because our revenue has always been a little bit, it's been sporadic. There's no, since its inception, because it's just one-time sales. We typically make a lot of sales in midsummer because we run like a promotion called Shark Week, and then Black Friday is usually huge for us. And it's that's literally been the pattern for 10 years, and it's only been kind of the last year, I'd say, that we've started to see a pretty significant decline in that pattern for whatever reason. I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe it's I have a couple possible reasons. Maybe Ninja Traders it's not, it doesn't have the strength it used to have. Maybe they're not supporting the ecosystem as like they used to. We're kind of at their whim. Maybe the desktop platform itself is an issue, because like most people like to be online and run it 24/7. I think that's a big one. So we're looking to pivot and go into a much larger market. In particular, we want to chase like Ninja Trader, for example. So they got 600,000 users. That's our limit, really. TradingView, on the other hand, which is an online charting platform, they have 90 million users. And so we're talking many more orders of magnitude larger. And so, our intention is to go after that bigger market, and do it in such a way that, like I see a couple smaller competitors kind of pop up here and there that have sort of their take on the automated trading system, automated online SaaS platform. And I'm really looking to compete directly with those companies, and I have some idea in terms of what numbers they pull, and I think we can compete like directly head to head with them, and perhaps improve. The idea would be to improve on their traction and improve on their product and that sort of thing. Go after the same customer base, which I think it's a large pool, really. I think so. There's plenty of space for multiple players in there. A combination of both. Definitely the existing users. Definitely a portion of them will find this new product useful to them, and in fact augment kind of what they're using already. But this new platform allows us to really capture the more, I wouldn't use the word less sophisticated, but I mean less, like more what do you call it, more moderate user. So it'd be vastly a lot more simpler to use. Maybe it doesn't have the same capability as a desktop product, but it'll have solve enough of their issues that they'd be willing to use it, at least in some form in their trading. So, and it's really that last mile we're trying to solve. It's like they've got some idea of their trade system in their head, and it's that the last mile execution mile, which is actually arguably the more challenging part, in terms of we want to solve that part where they have their idea and then they actually want to have the trades being executed and managed automatically, as opposed to just having to sit there and watch the trades and manually nurse them all day, right? So that's really kind of the part of the trading that we're trying to solve. Yeah. And so to answer your question, it's going to be mainly a new market, I believe, by virtue of the fact that there's not that many NinjaTrader users on the whole, right? There's a lot more kind of more casual traders out there that don't use NinjaTrader.
So just kind of following up on Jaren's question, actually. So what would you say is like the percentage? So I'm sure you've marketed this to your existing customers, launching a new product. What would you say is like the conversion rate there? How are your existing customers dealing with this? Are they all switching, or they still prefer to just do things same way?
Yeah, like I said, it would integrate and augment what they're doing, because it will allow them to without getting too technical, it allows them to integrate more different signals and then also execute on more brokers. So I'm not quite sure how many that would be, to be honest. Certainly I've done some customer discovery work, and the chat seems pretty positive, but I would say, if I really were to be honest, I think it'd be more of a like our users are maybe not be the main target necessarily, but we can certainly use that clout. And also to be clear, our MVP is first going to target our existing users in terms of trying to augment what they do. We're going to go after that first as a kind of stepping stone. Yeah.
I'm a little curious about the pricing. So your existing users probably pay that one-time fee. So would they then have to pay the monthly subscription to get access to the cloud? So it'll be an add-on.
Yeah, and it's different. Like so to be clear, so what they're doing right now is they're trying to do an end-to-end solution with their automated trading, but the drawback of it right now is because it is a desktop solution, they got to be there and nurse the computer. They got to run their computer 24/7, or however like it may be automated, but they still have to be there to see it, to see the trades go through, and nurse it. And so this new initiative will kind of allow them, in theory, to step away, or even explore different kind of trades that maybe don't need as much, attention, right? Trades that are maybe a little longer term. So this product will actually, I think, it will appeal more to not just the day traders, but also the slightly longer term, like we call them swing traders. So it allows them to explore kind of different types of trades. I think one of the big weaknesses of the desktop product is that because it requires a desktop, and because you have to be there glued to your computer monitor, is that it's more suited for day trading, and holding overnight positions, not so much, because it's your computer could crash or whatever, lose power, and then it loses track of your positions. They're not easily reacquired, and so from that perspective, the desktop product is definitely more focused for intraday trading, not so much the longer term. This is my feeling of it, because there's a lot to unpack with AI. Let's talk about just the development side of it, right? And there's a lot of talk right now about vibe coding and whatnot. And I think, and I kind of touched on this earlier, I think one of the biggest pitfalls of a non-technical founder or non-technical people trying to run a company and rely on vibe coding is they get caught up on that last 5%, that last mile, which is off, even in development when you're doing it manually, is often the step that takes the longest actually. And I think like I'm experiencing a little bit of this right now. Even just it's one thing to code up in a little vacuum and have sort of a prototype going. It's another thing to start from scratch and get the architecture and the layout of your services and your like your setup in the cloud to be scalable in the future. And like I'm talking about like really specific stuff in terms of the way you architect your back end even. Is it scalable? And there's a lot of nuances there that I don't think AI is really suited for like tackling the large scale questions, because there's certain things that have to be baked into the design from day one to allow scalability to even be feasible. And that last mile thing, like AI is great at just quickly getting to the 90% mark. But like I mentioned before, that last 10%, you really need someone that knows what they're doing to complete that last mile. And it could just be tiny little, lots of tiny little things and details of security to proper setup on your network to, I don't feel confident that an AI also has the architectural knowledge. It's good at the fancy front end interfaces and stuff like that. And so my personal opinion is, I think the people that will make the best use of AI is actually technical people, ironically coders themselves, because they know where its strengths are, they know, and they can augment where they're weak. But ultimately, it's the driver behind it that's really going to steer that tool in the right direction. And I heard this really interesting analogy, right? It's that, but there's also like a camp that's like, what about like, the camp that doesn't believe in using AI at all? Well, I mean, I think that's also, not necessarily the best way to look at it either, in terms of, if you're not using AI to augment and speed up your development, you're going to be left behind as well, I believe, because it's like driving, or getting in a race, with people that are on a bicycle versus a Formula One car. I heard that analogy once, and I'm like, yeah, AI is almost like that Formula One car. But again, you have to know, the driver still has to be pretty skilled, I think, to manage that power and harness it in the right direction. And then again, that last mile is I think where a lot of vibe coding only, like non-technical founders get pretty messed up, is they're not able to take it all the way.
I mean, I want to say that it's not just non-technical founders. Even technical founders, if they vibe code just a little too much, it gets overwhelming really fast, really quick, and debugging is impossible. Deployment is very hard because you have no idea what you built.
Yeah. You have less insight to what actually happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and in fact, I would go as far as to say that not even a junior developer. I've worked with, I would say a junior developer who I've encouraged to use AI tools to augment these capabilities, and they don't know necessarily the right questions to ask. There's you can get a lot more out of it the more you know, and in particular, unless you're very good at, if you've had a lot of experience working with large code bases and investigating bugs in existing code bases that you did not write, you'll do a lot better going through code bases that AI has generated and figuring out what's going on, right? And at least to myself and my other staff member, we're both extremely experienced with running and coping inside of large code bases. So I feel like that's kind of a prerequisite that if you want to really harness AI's power, that having developers on hand that are comfortable with working with large code bases they didn't architect themselves, and fixing problems in there is essential, I think. Yeah.
So have you thought in any way of how you're going to integrate AI into your product? Like, is there an AI offering on the horizon? Are you, maybe some kind of maybe automating even the indication part with AI? I don't know. Like, is there any thought or?
Yeah, we definitely, like I say, it's mostly me. I did a definitely a discovery journey. I'd say 2 years ago, in terms of building AI capabilities, like an AI copilot into our project, existing product. However, I've decided that whether it's in there or not, that's not going to move the needle much in terms of number of sales. And so if I do, it'll be in Shark Signals. That's the new product. And even then, the priority is not necessarily to just build AI from the outside. The priority would be to just kind of build the fundamental non-AI assisted build it, like just like many other companies I've seen, like build the system first, build all the tools first, and then afterwards look into building an AI complement to it. And I guess the easiest example I can think of is Zapier. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Zapier.com. Yeah, so they've been around for a long time, and we want to be kind of like that. We want to be the Zapier of trading tools. But they start off with really good fundamentals in terms of, they've had no code solutions that were manipulated by hand, no AI assist for many, many years. And then they eventually incorporated AI. And I think that's the more appropriate way to go, is make sure you've got a good solid system first before you attempt to augment it with AI. I still believe that's the case with us. Yeah. Well, it's hopefully we're either going to be one or two possibilities. We're out of business, or we're going to have like 20,000
that
users.
platform question they had us on that first week. What news headline do you see?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, as I kind of get into it, I don't I didn't really know where to set my sights. I've been used to just very modest numbers in terms of number of users, but having seen what's out there in terms of a competing product that I'm aware of that we're trying to compete against, and they've got 20,000 users, and they just acquired them last fall, like under a year ago. 20,000 users, and they just got traction again, like less than a year ago. And I think, if I were to replicate what they do, at least, that we'd be in similar numbers. And so I'm bold enough to say that I'm confident we can at least obtain half of that within 5 years, and that might even be being modest. And I figure it's going to be make or break. Either we get there, or we don't, and I run out of money, and we're basically I've got to find something else.
Back to a 9 to 5.
Yeah, back to 9 to 5. Yeah.
Jeremy's depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one of your interviews I read somewhere that you mentioned something about quantum computing a little.
Yeah.
AI. Everyone talks about AI.
Yeah.
I think quantum computing has been kind of hiding in the background. I know there's been some insane progress in the last 2 years or so. So what do you think? Yeah. What do you?
You want to know what I really think? I think that's going to be our revolutionary tipping point that will change humanity. AI is super impactful, there's no doubt, but quantum computing unlocks possibilities that are almost incomprehensible to us today. I've learned about quantum computing back in the 90s. That's how long we've known about quantum computing technologies. It's like prior to that, there were algorithms that were developed in theory. I think it was like in the 60s that they were starting this stuff. And all that theory is now starting to come to bear, and kind of knowing what I know about it, it really has the potential to completely change humanity. And it will take some time probably at first, because the hardware is always going to be there first, and then the killer app may be maybe a little while down the road. Like it took, if you think about how long it took to come up with the killer app for AI, it took a long time. I mean, AI has been brewing for, it must be 30, 40 years maybe at least 30 years, I was already, AI was already a thing. And it took a long time for it to hit a tipping point, and then money, investment, time, everything gets in there, and it starts growing like crazy. And I think the same kind of thing will happen with quantum computing. Is for a long time, and it's because it's a totally different computing paradigm. It's going to be very difficult for people, even classical developers like us, to jump on it, because it's so hard to understand. And like there's a saying in quantum physics: if you think you understand quantum physics, then you really don't, right? It's super confusing stuff. It's just not what we're used to, and the human brain, I don't even think, was built to understand it, right? But nonetheless, there's a whole generation of people that are studying it in post-secondary institutions, and they have been for quite some time. So there's a fresh crop of people out there that know how to harness quantum computing, at least to some degree. At some point, there's some party is going to, and it's probably going to be one of those major tech companies, is going to harness it by building some platform which everyone, like once we get to that point where it's shareable and people can easily build things to share and innovate. I think that's going to be the tipping point, is when there's an OS, a really good standard OS for it, and really strong development tools. And now that we have AI to help would-be quantum developers learn it and harness it too, that might accelerate that a bit. So I feel like it'll be one of those situations where for a bit of time it seems like nothing's really going on, and then suddenly, boom, like crazy stuff happens. And I hear a lot of, like, in the news, and tech writers are like AI, and they use quantum computing in the same breath, and people think that they're somehow intertwined. They have absolutely nothing to do with each other. And I know there are people that may be probably researching ways to perhaps use the two together, but right now they're completely disjointed technologies. But perhaps one day, if they are able to figure out a way to harness AI with quantum computing, that may just be the inflection point right there.
No, for sure. Just final question. Well, not more of a question, more of I guess, a plug for Shark Indicators. For all our, I don't know, 10 viewers who might listen to this, if they are interested in getting, started with Shark Indicators, or what's the best way to kind of get started, and just
SharkIndicators.com. We just launched a partnership with Quantum VPS, so you can actually get started. Not like I said, it was normally like $2,000 to buy it, but now they can just jump on a VPS with it already installed, ready to go, and it's just a quick way to get introduced to it and try it out for a lot less money than a full commitment. So SharkIndicators.com is honestly the best way. And then we have lots of learning material and that sort of thing, and we have a workshop that runs every week as well that people can join to learn about how to use the software and that sort of thing.
Perfect. No, well, really appreciate you, Jeremy. This has been pretty fascinating. Just kind of, it's always very insightful to learn. You've had a business for over 10 years now, and you're shifting business models, and AI. It's really incredible. Thank you for sharing it with us, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you Sunday.
I hope get picked up. I work from home, so my son came up, and the noise just like carries, and then my wife just returns. So I hope it doesn't affect you guys too much.
No, yeah. That's completely right. Well, yeah, I'll see you Sunday. We're still going on that, right?
Sunday. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I need an excuse to get out there and ride. I haven't touched my motorcycle in a while. It's been so busy. So
well, yeah, I hope it doesn't rain. There's a small chance of
rain. But even so, a little bit of rain's okay. I've ridden in wetness before. It's not highly pleasant, but it's not the end of the world.
All right. Well, thanks.
Okay, man. Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on Sunday.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Me and Abby, we always wanted to do like content stuff, but we've just never really been good at it. But what we're good at is just, I guess, speaking. So we figured we can try and start a podcast, because